Hi, Gym Laird from Gym Laird Strength and Conditioning. Here on a Sunday, doing kind of an in-service with one of my staff. I had a question from John. John, he bought Boot Camp in a Box, which, gosh, has been out, I don't know, 5 years now. It was a product that Mike Robertson, Molly Galbraith, and myself did. We also had Rob Wolf involved and Joel Jameson. And it was basically, at the time, it was designed to how to trick people into coming to your class thinking it was a boot camp when in actuality it was like a strength training class. Because if you want results with people over a long period of time, you've got to kind of work on all modalities. You have to do a little bit of conditioning, low level conditioning, you have to do a little bit of high intensity conditioning, you have to do some strength work, because all these things feed on each other. Like if you get someone stronger, they're going to be able to go harder in their conditioning. If you get someone's aerobic base better, they're going to be able to handle conditioning well. So really in a class, you should be working on all aspects. If you only focus on one, it'll work for a little while, but then that person is going to basically stall out and not going to continue to develop. But the question from John is how do you structure your classes now? And it's very similar to the Boot Camp in a Box product. But basically, I'm going to go through a few things that I've learned over the years. Most of the people in our class have been here for 5 or 6 years. We add new people from time to time. But my goal in the classes is basically to provide people with a place they can come 2 or 3 times a week and train, and that's all they need to do other than walk every day. They need to walk and be active. I'm basically saving people time. Instead of going to the gym for 2 or 3 hours a day, they come here for an hour, they get their workout in, they go home, they spend time with their families. My job is to save people time. That's essentially how I sell things. But, excuse me. So, we basically this is my terrible, Emily wrote day 2, so it's legible. The rest is just complete, terrible, my handwriting and stuff is horrible. So, I'm basically going to give you an overview of how we do things. One, we do things in 4-week cycles, okay? And like I explained to the class, we just started this 4-week cycle. We explained, hey, we come into a new cycle, we're here. We basically want to start off easy, and then we build into things, and our toughest week wants to be week 4, okay? To explain to people, we got some new stuff. We want to start off easy, we want to adapt to stress, and then we want to push in the 4th week, and then we back down a little bit. But one of the things I do is basically we have classes every day except Sunday. And day 1 and 2, day 1, which is Monday, Tuesday, day 1 is Monday, Tuesday is the same. And then day 2 is Wednesday, Thursday, those are the same. And then day 3 is Friday, Saturday, and those are the same. Those are to keep people from coming every day. Like, we encourage people, we tell people, hey, you get better on your day off, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, play some tennis, something along those lines. So we do everything we can to set it up so that people aren't here every single day. And if they are, we'll allow people to go outside and drag a light sled in the back, or we'll allow them to do some warm-up stuff. But if people do have to come back to back, we encourage them to come like on a Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, this week, we pull deadlifts in and out of the program. So we're doing trap bar deadlift. We're doing 5x5s. We explain to them that the sweet spot is 65 to 85%. That's basically where you get better, okay? We're not pulling maxes or anything like that. So we'll work up to a set of 5 that looks really good. Week 1, we want it to be easy. We'll work up to that. I'll be instructing, or Emily will be instructing and say, hey, that looks great. Let's stay there. That's our 5 sets of 5. We'll write that down, and then the next week we're going to go up. We'll maybe add 5 or 10 pounds depending on how it looks, and then stay there. And then the week after that we might go to 3, and the week after that we'll do 3 again. But like 2 cycles ago, we actually worked up to a couple real singles. We didn't do true maxes, but we saw people that have been here for a while. We wanted to see what they could do, so we worked up not to a true max, but we just worked up to a couple singles over a 4-week period. We started with 5, second week 5, then 3, and then we did some singles. And we have all that written down so we can say, okay, this is what you did for a single. This is kind of the range you should be shooting for, and explaining to people that you're not trying to kill yourself. You're trying to work on getting your form better and getting quality repetitions in. Now, for people that are newer, that haven't mastered the deadlift, basically we would start, with people that don't deadlift well, we'd start with some hinge drills on the wall. One of them I'm actually going to go over in a video on how we teach people to hinge, but we could start people with a hinge on the wall, pull throughs, something like that, or we'll pull kettlebell from blocks. If we have somebody who doesn't deadlift well at all, we might just deadlift from kettlebell from blocks and then do trap bar off blocks. We bought a lot of these basically 2x4, 2x6s, 4x4s. We use those for underneath deadlift stuff. That works really, really well. And generally, we want somebody to be able to deadlift the 150-pound kettlebell for a good solid 5 reps before they move on to the trap bar. That's kind of how we do things. And what I'll do is we'll deadlift for 4 weeks, and then the next cycle, we'll pull the deadlifts out. We'll put swings in, or we'll work on RDLs or single leg RDLs. That's kind of how it works. But with that deadlift, we're going to do some sort of core work so that they basically, that was single leg lowering with a band, they can bring that what they feel in their abs back to the deadlift. And then half kneeling bottoms up in between that, where we're doing, half kneeling, we've got a kettlebell and we're holding it here, upside down, bottom up, just to give them something to do. That works on some shoulder blade stuff. Then we've got, and obviously if somebody can't do that half kneeling bottoms up, we might turn it into a pallet press. Single leg lowering, we're gonna adjust that according to where they are. They might only need to do it, they might not need a band, they might have to do it with a kettlebell. So that's all stuff that we do on the fly. And then we have 4 accessory works. We got a bridge press, which is basically you're laying on your back. I got this from Tony Genagor. You bridge yourself up. You can do it either single leg bridge or just regular bridge, and you're pressing off the floor with a reach, one at a time. Single arm carry, reverse lunge cross connect. Your reverse lunge cross connect is this. You can do it weighted, without weight. I like that because it makes people don't jam into their hip capsule. And we can also adjust that. We can, for people that have been here a while and need more of a challenge, we can put a step there. There's all sorts of ways we can do it. We can do it with a band. For people that are new, we can just put a yoga block below them and just have them raise up and hold a static lunge, while they're holding onto something, that sort of deal. Hanging from the rings, this is something that I've noticed, we're pulling heavy, we're carrying heavy, so something we just have them hang from the rings like in a squat position, just to kind of lengthen those lats out, because we're pulling on a deadlift or doing a carry, so those lats are on. Something to do just for like 10 seconds to breathe in that position. Helps people feel better. So what I do in a week that basically we're deadlifting heavier or we're doing some sort of heavy movement, we basically pull heavy prowler out. So day 2 is generally a conditioning day. Last week, our day 2 was more of a aerobic movement kind of day, just to get people moving, because what we did on day 1 was fairly difficult. It was like squat, swing, get up. Like 10 squats, 10 swings, 1 get up, and it was pretty intense. So we just did like some easy circuits, some really nice long circuits, just to get people moving well. So what we generally do, day 2, we usually do some sort of lifting at the beginning. This time it's a loaded bear crawl. We basically have a harness with a prowler, and we have them get in a nice bear crawl position. We're cueing them, hey, glass of Malbec on your back, glass of water on your back. Keep it still, get in a bear crawl position, crawl down nice and controlled all the way down. We have the harness set up so we can just flip it over to the other side of the prowler. We're pairing that with inverted row on the rings. Obviously if you have somebody new, we can do static bear crawl holds. We can do unloaded bear crawls. We can do any kind of ab work we could substitute that with. So it's pretty easy. The same with like inverted rows. We could do half kneeling band row for somebody who can't control their head or their scapula, or their shoulders diving forward too much. We have all sorts of different things we can give people in place of that easily. I've found that Tabatas are really good if you use them for short periods of time. So we'll alternate between like easy aerobic work, like light prowler pushes, or a circuit of like 5 or 10 different exercises for time. We'll pull Tabatas in and out. And so we've got 2 Tabatas, 15 seconds on, like a rope slam, a plank jack, which is basically a push-up position, You move one foot in, or you could go both feet in and out, or we could just have somebody hold the push-up position. Or if somebody basically has like a hand issue or a wrist issue, they can plank on a stability ball. They can do what we call a slow motion mountain climber. Just some sort of trunk work. And then ropes, we can have people with lower fitness level can be doing it one at a time, or they can be slamming. It's self-regulated. That's the beauty of it, is that people can regulate it themselves. You know, the better shape they're in, the stronger they are, the harder they can go. And 15 on, 15 off. I want stuff that's short that people can really get after it. So I got one of those, and then we've got, you know, body weight or a squat. So we can either have people squat or like a nice easy jump squat kind of deal, and pairing that with rotational slam of the med ball. So, you know, we're here with a, you know, like a lighter med ball, slamming it on each side. People can regulate that themselves. We can go straight down with the slam, and then we've got all sorts of other things we can substitute for people that have issues with that. So then we come to day 3, okay? And before all these workouts, we generally do some like nice relaxed breathing, like a on the belly kind of breathing with a pillow under the belly, just to get people in the right mindset. And then we have different warm-ups that we do before each workout. And a lot of times, depending on who's in class, like people tend to, for some reason, people tend to like group themselves together. We'll have people come to class that have all been in class for a long time. They can handle a little more advanced warm-up. We usually, this time around, our skill, like last cycle, our skill that we worked on was push-up and RDL, okay, like a single leg RDL. We did that after our general warm-up, which usually starts on the back, you know, and then quadruped, getting people to get their position right, you know, hip circles and whatever else we do, and then usually a certain couple of exercises to prepare people for the class. But we generally have picked, and this has worked really well, we pick 2 skills that we work on every time people come in. So this time around, it's Turkish get up, roll to elbow. Just roll to elbow, making sure you're driving the feet into the ground. And you know, some people will use a kettlebell, other people will not. And pairing that with like I call it Cossack squat, where you use a rope, where we're reaching with the rope, and then we're going down into that single leg Cossack squat, doing a couple of those. We do that twice through generally. And then obviously people that can't do that would just do the reaching squat just straight up that we're new. So day 3, you know, we have arm bars to start. We might rotate that into the extended warm-up and have them do that as part of that. We're pairing, I call this DPP, dancing push-up plank. And basically you're in a push-up position, and then you're just having people shift their weight from side to side, and the more advanced people can pick their arm up, and then they're doing like a calf raise almost, where they're, you know, they're sawing back and forth, you know, from here, just like that. And, you know, obviously the more advanced people are gonna be able to pick their hand up barely off the floor. The people that are new, they might just be able to hold themselves in a push-up position, not even shift, and then, you know, or they might have to plank off their knees. We're just gonna adjust accordingly. And the people that have been here for a while, first week we'll tell them, hey, just make sure you ease into this. By the 4th week, we're adding chain to stuff so people get used to it. Half kneeling bend, pull down. You've got these set up over here so that people can get in a half kneeling position. So they can do their half kneeling pull down like this. They're getting a nice reach in, okay? We're trying to make sure we have a vertical pull, a horizontal pull with a reach. Landmine squat, you know, Ben Bruno's big on those. We have landmines here. You know, people are squatting with a landmine. It's a really easy way to get people to be able to squat. Our more advanced people will have them push it over their head as well. Ben Bruno's got a really good article on all the different variation things you can do with the landmine. Single leg RDL, we can do that with a band. We can do it straight up with weights. We can do it with a landmine. We'll adjust that according to the level of the person. And most people know already, like we've taught them well enough that they'll be like, hey, I know I need to do it with a band or whatever else. And then we have, you see my beautiful skull and crossbones here, Gauntlet of Death. I kind of came up with the Gauntlet of Death. It's basically 7 prowlers, 7 sleds. We're lucky enough to have a lot of turf space here. We've got like, what, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 yards of turf. I think. Is that 5 or 10 yards?
I think it's 5.
That's 5. Okay, my fault. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 yards of turf. That's better. And you can, it's probably really bright over here, but basically gauntlet of death, and this is not loaded the way it's supposed to be, because I was working on it earlier. But and the light's probably going to mess things up, but basically we would start with like nice and easy, like 2 plates in a 25. We go 2 plates, and then a plate and a quarter, then a plate, and then a quarter, and then empty. And people would start here, and they would work their way down. They would just down and back, nice and like not super fast, at their own pace, and they just go down, all the way down, push it down, push it back, and then in between, we're doing tall kneeling chops, you know, with a kettlebell or a med ball, tall kneeling chops, and we will put a limit on it. We'll say, okay, the limit today is 3. And then like we have somebody who's new, we'd start them like here, instead of starting them all the way down here. And then each week I'll creep up a little bit, maybe 10 pounds on each prowler, and go from there. But we'll put a cap on it. Like by week 4, I'll say, hey, you know, 4 is the maximum, because we got people that would do it 20 times if I didn't tell them the maximum. So that's basically how we run our classes. We're constantly assessing the way people look when they come in the class. Like, you know, are people chatty before class? Are they all talking? Oh, they're in a good place. Or is like the place like a funeral home and everybody's like, you know, there's days when you come in here and people are just like, there's no energy, so we might need to back things off, or maybe take out conditioning, or maybe only do 1 Tabata instead of 2. Or we'll do days like a recovery day where we'll just, you know, do like a kind of a, you know, a little bit on a foam roll, or maybe some warm up, and then have people lay on their backs and breathe and relax. And sometimes when I've done that, people are like, oh, that's just what I needed. So we're not a slave to the system, and we're open to doing different things, but we communicate with our clients constantly, ask them how they're feeling, and we've got regressions and progressions for everything. And then if there's something beyond that we can fix with smart exercise, we've got, you know, people we can refer people out to. So I hope that answers your question, John, about how we structure our class. But let me run over a few things quick here while my brain is scattered. But like the next cycle, basically we look here, you know, we've got what we need here. We've got our trunk work, we've got some shoulder stability work in half kneeling, which kind of helps with hips. We've got a horizontal press with a reach. You know, we're making sure we got a little bit of everything. We got a lunge, which is going to help with full range of motion. I really like doing lunges after deadlifts, because that's a full range of motion hip exercise. I love doing step ups after squat. The prowler is like a substitute for the step ups. So we've got no conditioning on this day other than things being paired back to back to back. Loaded bear crawls, love them. Inverted rows, so there's our row, okay? Tabatas, we're working on kind of like conditioning, you know, like high intensity conditioning, which you don't have to do much of. People only need a little bit of that to get results from it. And then arm bar, we're working on shoulder stability. The planks, half kneeling band pull down, we're getting that vertical reach that's so important. Landmine squat, we're getting our squatting action. Single leg RDL, we're working on hip, and we're also working on rotary stability. Gauntlet of death, that's like one giant step up. And then we're doing our kind of our side, you know, core with the kettlebell chop. And then we're getting in some like durational cardio, so to speak. So we're working on low level intensity conditioning, low to moderate, high intensity conditioning, and then we're always moving, so we're always working on their general physical preparedness. And then like the next cycle, we might pull the deadlifts out, the trap bar deadlifts out, or the, you know, deadlift from the floor, and we might work on RDLs, and then we'll change up our other core exercise, and then we'll add something else in for that. And because we're not lifting as heavy, we might add some prowler pushes, like some different types of prowler pushes, like push it every 5 yards on day one with a little heavier weight, because we're not lifting as heavy on the deadlift. And then day 2, we might go from the Tabata stuff to like longer duration circuits of mobility stuff and stuff that people, carries, med ball slams, all sorts of different things that we can pair together. We might work on for 15 or 20 minutes with like 6 or 7 different exercises. And then day 3, like the last cycle, we had heavy drag and push on the prowler instead of, the gauntlet of death, where people worked up to like 7, 8, 9 over a 4-week period, 7, 8, 9 plates on the prowler. So that's kind of how we're always changing things and always adapting and always working on different things with people. And that's pretty much how we do it. And when people come to us, we take a look at how they move, and then we basically say, hey, you need to do like some semi-private classes for a while, or you can do class and a semi-private. We've got all sorts of different options, but that's basically how we structure things. So I hope that helped.